Hey, it's Tandy with the Sustainable Alaska podcast. Just a quick heads up before we dive in. We're not doctors, vets, or legal experts. We're just two homesteaders sharing our experiences with raw milk and farm life. Everything we talk about here is for informational and educational purposes only. Always do your own research, check your local laws, and talk to a qualified professional before making decisions about your health or your herd. Now, let's get into it. Hey, it's Tandy with the Sustainable Alaska podcast.
And this is Kelly Foreman from the Last Small Farm down in Kodiak.
I love it. All right, let's get going. Today, I am so excited about our topic. Kelly, I have my stack of books, I have my notes. This is going to be fun. So, today we're talking about raw milk. So, a subject that's near and dear to both of our hearts, for sure.
It is. It kind of changed my world a little bit, especially as of recently. But it's a fun topic, and all at the same time, I'm amazed at how um I don't even know if it's controversial, but it can be a tense topic too, depending on who you're talking to at times. But
Yes, it can. Yes, it can,
I
for
don't
sure.
feel like it should be, but it can be.
Yeah, we'll keep it upbeat today.
That's right.
We're on the same page. All
Exactly
right.
right.
Well, before we dig into that, tell us what's going on your farm.
We actually, I have had a lot in the last now what 32 hours. My cow Maggie had her calf, and yeah, that's very stressful for me. So, like the days leading up to it, and I know, when she's getting close, and I know enough to be worried. You know what I mean? Like I know enough to know that there's a lot of things that potentially could go wrong. And so I had her in the barn, and so I could watch her on the video camera and like all the things. And like between farmers market on Saturday, like I was trying to pay attention to like, is my cow gonna drop a calf? Well, nothing can, so I'm up all night watching this cow. Finally I get to Sunday afternoon. Oh, and I went to church, and my little farm helpers are like, oh my goodness, what are we gonna do? And I'm like, Jesus comes before cows. Like we're just gonna leave it, and we're gonna go to church, and then we're gonna go back. But I got to the point in the afternoon, and I was like, you know what, Maggie? That's my cow. I was like, this is never gonna happen. And she had wanted to go out, and I was like, I'm just gonna let you go out. This will be tomorrow. She still had some wrinkles on it. I'm like, all practical purposes, I'm overreacting, really. And I let her out, and I went down, and I was running goats and did something. I came back. If that cow did not drop her calf just right out in the front pasture, and just boom, done. No big deal. Big old bull calf. And we had bred her this time around with a shorthorn. So we were going for a beef variety. So to have a bull calf at all worked out. But that has been by far. And now it's just a muddly mess. And you will learn this, Andy, you will love milking a cow. You will not love milking a cow the first 3 days milking a cow, and thankfully she, has manners to where she's not going to the bathroom in the milk parlor, but happened that I set the bucket down right at the wrong time, and she caught it, and I ended up with colostrum, that sticky, beautiful stuff all over me. And so it's just been one messy mess after the other since.
Oh,
But that's our big news.
that's really fun. Oh gosh. So, yeah, well, I have all the questions, but I guess we probably won't dig into that right here. But this is fun. But Kelly, you shared something that I think is important for all of us to hear who are just getting started, and that's that you put the bucket down at the wrong time and she stepped in it. Because in my mind, the Kelly Formans and the Leslie Tompkins and all that, like they're not making these rookie mistakes or whatever you want to call that. Like everything just is perfect. You're not letting your cow out before she gives birth because everything is trained and runs according to plan. And so it helps to hear these stories because then when it happens to us, we're like, well, if it can happen to Kelly, then we're doing okay. Does
Oh,
that make sense?
yeah, we're all just a mess though. I'll be honest, like during this time, I actually like I have Leslie and Katya, I have my two cow ladies that really like that we spend a lot of time talking back and forth. And even this morning, I was like, I know that I should know this, but I was like, I just am worried about the way that this little teat looks. Like, what am I missing? Am I doing something wrong? So it's having the courage to be able to say, like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I really don't want anything bad to happen. So we're gonna ask the questions. So it's, yeah.
That's super important. And what a blessing it is to have people that we can talk to about it too. I know last night I was just texting with Rain Reynolds and I just said, well, I had asked because his daughter does 4-H, and I said, I got to halter train this cow, and I've looked on YouTube and so my dad was a horse guy. And
Yeah.
so I know horse people all the way from the ones that like beat it to submission to the like gentle horse, whisper people and everything in between. And cow people are exactly the same. And I don't know what I'm doing, but I just want to do the right thing by this calf. Like I just want her halter trained in the
Yeah.
end, but I want her to love me. Like I know I don't want to drag her across although when she pulls back and our eyes roll back in her head, I'm like, maybe we're going to have a little bit of tug of war, Missy, because I'm the boss,
Right. That's right. That's right.
um, but just talking to, and people who have done this before, like I just was talking about feeding, and I said, I don't know if I don't even know if I'm feeding her the right amount. She's growing, she doesn't seem hungry, she's not skinny. But she's also not a purebred. So I can't look at a Jersey calf at 5 months old and say, well, what does a Jersey calf look like? So I look at a 5-month-old Jersey calf and I look at a 5-month-old Highland and I'm like, she looks like she's pretty good in between. She definitely is stockier than a Jersey. Um,
Yeah.
but she's not hairy like a Highland. And so, um, but
Fun.
he just said, he broke it down so simply. And he said, if she's 100 pounds, which is kind of our best guess, then, at 100 pounds, she should get 2.5 pounds, right, of food. And so she gets 24 ounces of powdered milk. The rest would be grain. I mean, just hearing that was like, oh, that I can do. Now
Right.
it's tangible, and it helped me know I'm doing the right thing. Now that I have a little piece of what would you like, a little piece of the road, I guess, to stay on. Now if we deviate or do things different, I still know how to get back on track if it's not right, because everybody, it feels different about grain, it feels different about all the things, but I just want to know I'm not, that ultimately she's getting the nutrition that she needs and she's going to grow right. So having people, all of that is to say, just having people that we can ask. And Alaska's just, there aren't a lot of us, there are a lot of us. I'm not going to lump myself. There aren't a lot of you who have that good, deep knowledge, but the fact that y'all are willing to share and work together and learn together, that is huge. And it's such a benefit to people like me who are just getting started, who just don't want to screw this up.
People like you that are going to be the next professional
Oh
dairy
God,
dairyman out there.
because she is my one and only. Oh, well, I guess she'll have to have a cow. She'll have to have a calf every year. But if a milk cow is gonna live even for 15 years, by then, I mean, I'll be, 60 something, and I
Be
don't need
fantastic.
to be milking a cow. It'll be time to go back to getting milk from my milk people.
That's right. That's right. Oh goodness. Any other you said what are you getting ready for at your farm?
We're
You're
getting
like,
ready for U pick. Yeah, we're gearing up for U pick. So we're washing buckets and cleaning out. We have the big swimming pools that we clean the buckets in after people pick and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, we're about a week out from honeyberries, and this is one of my favorite times of year because it feels like you spend a week preparing for a really cool party that's going to last like 6 weeks long, and all of your favorite people come to it. It's so
oh,
cool.
that's so
Um, it is. It's really cool. So that's what we'll probably start gearing up tomorrow. Jean, I think we're gonna open a week from Wednesday. So actually this won't even air till next Thursday. So we will have opened for the first time probably when this airs. But um you pick is a cool time of year. So
awesome.
it is. It is. So that's pretty much what's happening around here. So yeah, so I'm excited to talk about raw milk, Kelly.
Absolutely.
Do you want to share? I know that you were actually on the podcast before and you shared a little bit about your story. You shared your story, but do you want to share just a little bit for those who didn't hear, like what has been your evolution of milk? When did you even did you start with just one goat and then suddenly you had 40 goats and now you're the crazy goat lady? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. No, I am. It is true. I grew up with goats and really it was it's interesting. My mom had MS and my Mrs. had Crohn's disease. And so that was an option that they went for because they knew they could get raw milk. And we were on a farm. And so That's clear back, from when I remember we were hand milking 11 goats morning and night. My mom, my sister, and I. Yeah, which I think now I'm like, oh, I'm doing 10 on a machine and I don't want to hand milk 10. But
I have to ask, how long did that take? How long would that take to hand milk 11 goats?
It's so interesting because it's the difference now we take with time. Like, I don't even remember how long. I remember it being so much fun. We try to be so efficient. I think that even equates even into like the kitchen. We try to be so efficient and how fast we can make something when really it's always been about the process of making it. So the goats, we were trying to be so like now I want to be efficient. I think really my mom was a stay-at-home mom. We did not have a timetable that had to get done in the morning. So I don't know. I just remember I loved it. So that was, was part of it and probably having a good idea of what milk is. But I remember always taking our raw milk to families. I remember late night trips that we were going into town and like walking into houses with screaming babies, like my mom handing off goat milk, for these families, which is just an interesting memory. And then when I went off on my own, I didn't plan on farming, got into the whole gig. Well, then I got to the idea that I wanted to start a dairy because I felt like, one, I wanted my kids to learn how to do it, but when you have that farming in you, I wanted to share that with other people. And I feel like food is a great ministry. We all have to eat every day. So I know that whether you want to hear, about my faith or not, well, you want to eat, and that's one way to bring you maybe to the table. And so we started with the goats. Well, it was illegal in Alaska to sell raw milk when I began, but I didn't want to do herd shares. I wanted to be able to, I didn't want other people to own my goat. I just had a weird feeling, I was like, I just want to do that. So I became grade A certified and started that whole process. Well, then, gosh, was it now in 2023, maybe 2022? It was right around there. They legalized the sale of raw milk in Alaska. It was interesting though that the requirement seemed a little bit tricky. However, coming from grade A, they were very attainable for me because I had done all the things to be grade A. And so it was a huge back and forth because you live in the grade A world so long. I'm having all of those things being taught to me and told to me for so long. However, it was always a rub. It was always difficult. It wasn't always easy. And so really took a step back and made a decision with my husband that I was like, I think I'm going to do this, and took the big leap into being a raw milk registered dairy with the state of Alaska. And so that's what I am now, goat and cow, a registered raw milk dairy. And so different requirements. I sell direct from farm, a few of those things, but it has been like I'll never go back. It's been so freeing and fantastic, and it fits with where I feel like people need the freedom of choice to pick. If you want to drink pasteurized milk, that's fantastic. But if you want to drink raw milk, I think there needs to be an option for that too. I feel like we get to be able to choose. And so I like to have that as an option.
I love that. So I just want to clarify a couple things for our listeners because I want to make sure that everyone fully understands. So when you were a grade A dairy, that meant that you were pasteurizing your milk, correct?
Mhm.
And then it's legal to sell in stores. It can go on a school, on a table at a school. It can be sold absolutely anywhere. Is that right?
I can put it on a plane. I can send it somewhere. I could sell it any retail. Yep. Schools, everything.
So
Now
then
I have to put a really scary label and tell them everybody's gonna die on my milk. Pretty much, it's terrifying to a certain extent. Yeah,
But it's what works for you. Now, I didn't realize that you aren't falling under herd shares. So you're not doing herd shares at all. And it's because you already had the facility and everything set up with your grade A dairy. Most people aren't doing that because it is a little bigger than what the average backyard cow owner is doing.
I do think now coming back, and seeing it like herd shares are a great option. I where I'm at, I get a little bit like when you're doing a herd share, you have folks that are expecting that milk every week to pick up. So what happens if I make a mistake and I accidentally drop the milk, or Maggie spills the bucket, or there's a problem? I have a very heavy, like, need to be able to make sure I'm following through on a commitment. And I just didn't want that extra pressure. So by being a raw milk registered and having the farm shop, I put everything I have. But if somebody comes in and they're like, "You're out of milk," I'm like, "Yep, I'll have more tomorrow." That's just, but I don't have, for me personally, it's not the same pressure.
Sure. Well, and that it sounds like it works out really well for you. So can you sell value-added products with milk too, or is it milk only? What can you sell? What do you sell?
So right now we do 12 different flavors of ice cream. I do skyr, I do goat milk skyr and cow milk skyr, which is, it's a technically a cheese, and there are some regulations as to why that I did that. But it's like a Greek yogurt. And then I do just plain milk of goat and cow. And then I have feta cheese, and I do chev, and I do a whipped feta as well. And
Okay.
I just today, right before we got on the call, I made whey lemonade. This is like a new kick. Whey lemonade. I don't know. Just your whey with lemon juice and honey.
So are you using a sweet whey or an acid whey? What's your whey from?
It's from my cheese. So I used the skyr whey, and I'm going to make feta tomorrow. And so I'm going to attempt it with my feta whey. And then I just take my cold whey, and
Right.
so it was 4 cups of whey, one, half a cup of lemon juice. And then I did about a fourth of a cup of honey at the end, because I was feeding it to my husband and he likes sweet things. You probably wouldn't have to make it that sweet. It's really good.
Well, that's really fun. So now we should all just Google that and try that. But using whey can be tricky because when you make cheese, you make 2 gallons of cheese and you get that much cheese and you get that much whey. And so you have to find opportunities to use it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. That's whey lemonade. That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so that's where we do a lot of different fun products too. And not everything is raw. So you are selling raw milk in Alaska, you cannot get insured. There is no insurance that will cover me. And that's the same with herd shares. So we are functioning without a net here. So I am careful. Like, I sell ice cream that is pasteurized because I get a lot of passive consumers that come through. They are not going to be a thoughtful participant in the food that they're eating. So if you're going to get raw milk, you're not going to get raw milk on the Saturday farmers market. Again, I just get too many, whether it be tourist, passive consumers. So you're going to make a conscious effort, and you're going to know what you're getting and making that decision. And I put up all of my practices. I follow all, I mean, for the last 8 years, I was tested every month by the state. And so I know. Anyway, I just want to make sure that folks understand this is a raw milk product that you are getting. This is alive. This is fantastic. But if you have a dead gut, you're going to have some maybe problems at the beginning.
It's true. I remember when I first started making kefir for us, making milk kefir, and we drink milk kefir every day. Well, I decided we were going to start drinking milk kefir every day, and I got the amount to make a quart. So by the time you add in, I add some berries and um, whatever I'm adding to it, it's a little over a pint each. So my husband and I both drank it, and it caused no problems. And we repeated the next morning. That third morning was when my gut said, whoa, that was a lot all at once. And that's when I started reading up on it. I was like, oh, you're supposed to start kefir slowly. So note to anyone who's just starting, especially a good cultured raw milk kefir, you do start slowly. You don't usually, and I survived. It was fine, and but it was just a little uncomfortable for a minute. But that's just the nature of the beast, getting everything back into where it's supposed to be. And so
Yeah, you're exactly right. You are part of a herd share, right? Okay.
yeah, we do a herd share and we get 3 gallons a week, which is, yeah, it's a lot. Um, and I've thought of decreasing it but so, everyone has their one weakness or whatever. And, I don't buy a lot. I don't have a lot that I need, but milk would be like if our budget got really tight, I can think of other things I'd drive less. I'd lower my gas budget before I would lower my milk budget, I think, because we use milk for so much. And that was kind of part of what I wanted to talk about today too, because and we do pay on the higher end. We pay it's $20 a gallon. So that's a big chunk of our grocery money every month goes to milk. So you can bet that I am using every drop and I'm trying to make it as valuable as I can. So I mean, we just know that raw milk has, it's full of enzymes, it's full of all the good stuff. It's easier to digest because it's the way it was created to be. We still have the fat in there, so it works with the lactose and it's digestible and all that. Um, but I also make all of our sour cream, and it's truly a cultured sour cream so that, when I'm eating, it's kind of fun. Actually, tacos are on the list for tomorrow. And when I make tacos, my shells are homemade, my beef is homegrown. I'm not making my own cheese yet. We'll get there. Cheddar. I can't, here's the thing. I make cheddar curds, and that's as far as we get because we eat them and they're so good. Squeaky cheese curds. You can't
Yeah.
stop. There's no pressing it. Um, but the sour cream, the salsa's homemade, the sour cream is cultured. Like if you look at that compared to I'm going to throw out a name. I hope that's okay. Like a Taco Bell taco. Think
Right.
of the difference of the nourishment of that taco that I just fed my family versus the one that I could have gotten at takeout. Um, it just feels so good. So we make our own sour cream. We do kefir. I do clabber because I'm learning new different ways to make cheese. I'm learning to use clabber as my culture instead of buying culture. Um, so I'm using the milk just every drop as much as I can. I make well, you make Chev. I make the cow milk version, which is quark or what's the
Yeah. Uh,
fromage
yeah.
blanc, or there's all sorts of names.
Yeah.
But we make that, and then from that we can make cottage cheese and like all of the milk product, and we ice cream, obviously. So maybe we don't save money on milk itself. Sure, I can go get it for a whole lot cheaper off the shelf, but the other products that I'm making with it definitely make it a value for sure.
Yeah. The nutrient denseness is really incredible. And it's so interesting. One of the main key parts, so when I was grade A, and you're having these conversations back and forth about raw milk versus pasteurized milk. Any USDA, any large, they're going to say it's exactly the same. It equals out on paper. Like you have everything's the same. Really, there's no difference except that it's safe. It's safe for you. And I was interested, I was reading something where they were talking about, things that we don't understand that we fear. Those are the things that we kind of demonize, that becomes bad because we just don't understand. And the part, that I can say, okay, you can scientifically put this all to shame, but the reality comes to when I have folks that have never been able to digest milk
Mhm.
and they get raw milk. And I'm like, you know what? Start slow. There's a high probability that you're going to be able to digest this. It's those what is it? The lactates. Lactase is still, it's still all in there. It's all still good. So give it a shot. And they come back and they're like, we can drink this milk. We've never been able to. And truly, the only difference is it is raw to not pasteurized because I've done them both. I've sat there with the products and I low temp pasteurized before, it was just 145 degrees for 30 minutes, but it still is different. And so uh, the truth really is shown through a person and what it does, and you can't explain that away to me, so
No, you can't. And the bottom line is it's the way it was created to be consumed. Things are created to be drank in a certain way. And when there's a reason that milk comes with cream, and and the even as far as I'll try to explain this, but I can't remember the whole thing. But the way that the enzymes work, the only way that there's every enzyme has a coenzyme. Do I have that right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And so, but the problem is they need to work together to be actually digestible and to, not digestible, but to be consumable, for your body to be able to absorb them. So when you take that, or maybe it's an enzyme and a protein, I don't remember, but people can certainly Google this if they're curious. But the problem is when you pasteurize it, then you may not be killing off the proteins, but you're killing off those enzymes, and they have to work together. And the other thing that happens is when you constantly are skimming milk, especially homogenized skimming, so or not homogenized, but you're skimming off all that, as much cream as you can, um, then you're not getting the fat that's needed for digestion too. So it's needed, the whole milk is needed in order to be able to be digested. I didn't explain that well, but
Well, and even if you get a whole milk from the store, you're still only getting, it's 4%. It's not the whole milk. It's still skimmed down. Whereas if you're getting that raw milk, like it's in its raw form, the entire thing.
yes. And it's like, I mean, my milk's like 25%, or not, maybe 25. It's pretty dang close sometimes. It's a whole lot more than 4%.
It's exactly right. Well, and really, one of the things that I had to deal with when I, was thinking about the switch and some of those things, like there's raw milk for pasteurization and there's raw milk for drinking, and those really are two different things. And so when you're looking at a raw milk product, and depending on, you do need to be thoughtful about where you're getting it from and the things that your practices behind that. And it's not the milk, it normally is the person to blame. It's not the actual product, it's the people behind it. And I think, that industrial revolution came and we moved everything in. We tried to make it really fast. We tried to make it efficient. We said, gosh, how can we feed these cows for less? And it all, it comes back to money to a certain extent, to when I love this idea. And that's where I do love the herd shares and I love the small farms so much, because it takes it back to how it all started. These family farms, these folks that had their one or two cows or their few goats, sharing with their neighbors, and this was their milk too. This was something that they took pride in. Very much so. This is my cow. This is my milk. I don't work for somebody else. This isn't my job that I just want to clock in and clock out and get done really fast and just no, this is my livelihood. And so there's so much more, in my opinion, that's connected when you come to raw milk. It's a whole culture, other culture, behind that. And it's supporting just the old tradition of it and how I think God intended it to be.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Kelly, let's talk for just a second about, now I realize that on Kodiak Island, your folks have a special, they have you, which is special, and so they don't have to do a milk share. But I do want to talk for a second about milk shares, because the rest of the state, that's how we're getting our milk,
Absolutely.
our raw milk. So, do you want to dig into the regulations of a milk share, or do you want me to tell it from my
Tell it
side?
from your point of view. I think that you're the best person to do that.
Okay, well, as a consumer, here's what I had to do. So we own raw milk shares with a lot of farmers in the valley. Partly because I figure that's how I can support them, even though I'm only buying from one at a time. But it's a good way to support our local farmer and to try out their milk. So the way that it works is you're given paperwork, and I don't remember all of the pieces of the paperwork, but basically it says, by paying them your $65 a year, whatever, some charge by the year, some it's just a one-time fee and you never have to pay it again. It ranges from, I don't know, $50 to $100. I don't know what it ranges from, but um, then you own part of the cow. So, or the goat or whatever. So that is, that's what makes it legal, is because it's actually technically your milk, because and then you're getting, so one share is typically 1 gallon, so you buy, typically amounts to about a gallon a week. So if you wanted, say, 3 gallons a week, then you have to buy 3 shares, so that you have, because it has to be proportional to the amount of that the cow is going to get, or a goat. And then you pay every week when you go to pick up, you're paying the cost of upkeep on the cow. So that's going to be anywhere from, I know some people only charge $10 a gallon. Some people are over 20. And but here's the kicker. Um I really want to caution people against choosing your raw milk dairy based on price.
Mm.
I mean, I would start with location, because if you live in Sutton, the last thing in the world you want to be doing is picking up in Houston, because nobody's driving to Houston once a week. I mean, it's over an hour. Find somebody that's near you that it's going to be convenient. Um, but here's the other thing. Um, your milk shouldn't taste like the barn. It shouldn't taste off. It shouldn't have a weird smell. Um, and these are really, really important things to know. I don't know of any right now. I'm not saying that anyone is out here doing this, but I have been part of a couple of raw milk shares where you get the milk and it's fine for a couple days. And then after a couple days, it literally, you open the jar and it smells like the inside of the barn. And that's not right. You've gotten bacteria in there. They're not cool. Either they're not cooling the milk fast enough, or the cow stepped in it. I don't know, but um, all sorts of things can happen. And so I think sometimes people get hung up on the price and they're like, well, I want to pay the cheaper price. Well, oftentimes you're not going to get as good of sometimes you're not going to get as good of a product. And sometimes it's just because that's, the farmer grows their own hay, or, whatever the case may be. But I think we need to be choosy, and here's why. Number one, you're going to get sick. If the milk isn't clean and handled properly, you're going to get sick. And you can certainly speak to that, Kelly. But also, we need to, right now, we don't have perfect freedom. So my son lives in Florida and you can buy and sell raw milk. Nobody's paying any attention. That would be best. But our middle case scenario is as good as it gets, I think, where we have these milk shares. If people start getting sick from milk shares, then in come the powers that be and the regulations start closing in on us, right? And so not only do I not want you to get sick, but I also want to be able to enjoy the gift that we have of semi-unregulated milk. Because it is my choice. It's my choice to buy the milk. It's my choice to feed it to my family. And I think it's an important choice that we need to hang on to. And that also means buying responsibly. I had someone ask me, she said, because she was asking about raw milk shares, and she said, well, their milk doesn't taste all that good, but I just heat it up and then I just feed it to everybody. And I thought, oh, well, I mean, good on you for not wanting your family to get sick. I mean, it's good, I guess, but maybe let's take a little bit different approach, because I think there's something to be said for holding people accountable too. I just want to share one story, and then I would love to hear your thoughts. But I had someone write me recently, and she said she had gone with someone that I recommended for raw milk, and she said, but something's just not right. And I said, well, did you talk to her about it? She goes, no, I don't want to make her feel bad. And I said, you have to communicate with your farmer. If there's something going on, she may not know. She just flat may not know. And so you need to tell her this. And she did, and they talked through it. And I have no idea what transpired other than the farmer thanked me for saying that. And she needed to make some changes. So it's kind of a give and take and a communication thing too, especially when someone's just starting. Mistakes happen, and supporting your local farmer also means saying, you know what, this product just isn't quite what I expected. Is there something going on? So yeah, now I want to hear your
All such fantastic parts. I think what my favorite part about that I just keep I keep thinking about, we have these conversations about wanting to even legalize raw milk. And honestly, I just want to say, just stop. Everybody be quiet. Because you do want to be careful, because if you decide that you're going to then put it underneath a government regulation, and then now your raw milk, even if it's there, it's underneath a regulation of sorts. And so that's where, for us in Alaska right now, we do have a really great setup, in my opinion, on how that works. And we need we need that freedom. And you brought up, a couple of those points, a few things to ask. If you are interested in getting raw milk, if you are interested in being in a herd share, or you have a setup where you're able to, I know in Fairbanks at the Roaming Root, there's at least one other dairy that's a raw milk registered dairy, goat milk. I'm not sure what it is, but so how do you where do you milk at? What's your setup look like? And that's an entirely acceptable question to ask your farmer. What's your setup look like? And you wanna have kind of a cleaning practice. If you're milking in a barn, if your buckets are on the ground, if you are even to the point of like if you are where are the buckets at after they get washed? Are they sitting in the same place that you're milking the animal? Or are they in a different room? Putting them in a different room is really a good idea. That's not where the flies are at and where the manure is sitting, and you might get those things in there. And then you touch on the state of the how do you chill your milk? That's the next one. Like okay, how quick do you chill it? Even the filtration. I have an inline filter, so my milk doesn't even get to my tank before it's been filtered. It comes out of that cow or that goat. It goes through an inline filter in my tube before it hits, and then I send it through a second filter, which, I mean, maybe once in 100 do I ever catch anything in that second filter, but I'm glad I had it. And then truly, like, how do you store that milk? And we as a consumer can be helpful to our raw milk dairymen. Don't put your milk in the door of your refrigerator where it's going to get sloshed back and forth, where it gets heated for a second and then cooled. If you're going to get that gallon of milk, take your 2 quarts, put it, where you're drinking it. Take your other one and put it in the very back of your fridge and leave it alone until you need it. And then pull it up. But you're right, if milked the right way, I'll have milk that's 10 days old and I'll still drink it. It's fine. But those are fantastic. And you said being choosy. My milk may not be the cheapest milk, but I stand behind it too, all at the same time, in every single process. And I put it all up there. If you're a dairyman, I'm not saying you need to do social media, but grab a free website where you just get the one page. Write down what you do. Put your cow on there. Just let
Yeah.
people see, be transparent.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good stuff all around. Yeah, those are such good points. And it's fun to hear it from your standpoint, Kelly, because it's a lot of work. It's not like you're just slopping some milk in a bucket and pouring it through a funnel into somebody's jar and tossing it in the fridge. There's a lot to this. And I think when people realize what goes into clean, properly handled raw milk, then you kind of see the value in it as well. Because I would never want to ask my farmer to work for me and provide something for me and make 20 cents an hour. I would, she's providing a service for me. She needs to be able to pay for her cow and pay for her time, and all of that needs to be accounted for as well. So
Yeah. Does your milk, so you get it from multiple herd shares, correct? No,
no.
you have one
I,
herd share.
I have milk. I've bought herd shares from all over the place. I dabble in herd shares.
Okay. Okay. I was curious. I thought maybe you had different ones, and I was like, oh, I'm so curious on like the different spots with the different feed if your milk tastes different. Like, if you had 3 different herd shares, how that's the one part about being in Kodiak. I would love to be up on the mainland and get to like dabble around. You just don't have the opportunity to taste other people's milk the same way. So
Should do that. I should ask if some of the people that I have herd shares with and like do a taste test. That would be kind of fun.
yeah.
Especially in the spring, I think when things are starting to get good. And I do buy occasionally from like my lady, I've maxed out on how much I can get from her. She's full.
Yeah.
So I have like an overflow lady that I can get milk from. And my lady will be drying up her cow in December. And so I'm a little worried about that. So I need to get my backup. I need to get in on their list. So but and that's the other thing. Here's a subject that I before we close today, I really want to talk about with food, and that's um perfect perfect food isn't always available to us all the time. So one of the things we have to remember about raw milk is my lady has one cow. So she's going to dry her up in December. She'll calve, I think in February. I think that's right. And then it takes a little bit before she's selling the milk again. So, and then I'm guessing we'll be calf sharing. So we're going to have to be awfully patient for a minute. Like, and that's hard to do. But this is part of being, this is a piece of being part of that system. and it's such a cool and beautiful system. We're not going to die without milk for 3 months. And I kind of think I'm going to, so I'm going to have my backups. But if that's important, then make sure you find your backups or freeze your milk or do whatever you need to do to get ahead of that. But I see that a lot on the U-Pick farm too, which is off the subject of milk, but it's similar to, someone will say, I'll say, well, we're picking honeyberries, and it usually takes us 2 to 3 weeks to pick out completely with honeyberries. Now we have overlap berries, so we're open a lot in that time, and there's people are picking other stuff. But I'm gonna say it takes like 3 weeks from start to finish completely picking out all 1,500 honeyberry plants. And I'll get people who will say, I'm on vacation till September. Can I just pick some then? And and it's learning the food system because we've become so far removed from it that in our mind, well, the store is going to have apples in January. So why can't I get apples from the farm in January? And it's the same thing kind of with milk. We have to understand the ebbs and flows of just how it works. I mean, I'm assuming nobody's getting cow's milk from you right now because you just had your calf. And so I think that's just a piece of what I hope this podcast can do too, is educate folks on how to live this life with what's available and make the very most of it while we can, and thrive in it too. It's not Our world isn't going to end without milk. It'll kind of be a bummer, but it's not going to end from December till March. If we're without, and that's okay.
Yeah, I agree. I froze a bunch of Maggie's milk when we were getting done. Like I was planning ahead, and I learned like, oh, I maybe shouldn't freeze mason jars always. I did pretty good, but I wanted to use the glass jars. I didn't want to freeze in plastic bags, and so I just had some learning issues. And like my husband loves skyr, and it's so good for like his stomach. Things you can really digest. It's been a big deal for him. So I froze like tons of it, and I counted and I figured it all out. And on the farmer's side, and you made that comment, is so good. Like we have to work with our animals, and to, if you want the farm fresh, you have to understand that there are seasons. Obviously you're not going to get honeyberries in September, October. You're going to get them right now. I think there's that level too, and this is probably the trickiest part. Um, Folks that are mean, people that are mean, and that's really defeating, for a farmer that's saying like this is me, like I love to do this, I want to do this, and then to have the folks are like, why can't you do this? Like why don't you have? And right now for myself, like so when I went to the homestead festival on the mainland, we didn't sell raw milk during that time because I was not there, and I don't want to put my helpers at risk because I put myself underneath that. It's my milk, it's my product. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I feel good behind, with that. I didn't want to have that issue. Gosh, folks are like, what do you mean? And you kind of get that, take a deep breath, Kelly. They don't understand. It's going to be okay. And I've also learned on my side, I can't not tell them. So it's a communication back and forth. And so I try, okay, like you already know when your cow that you're getting milk from is going to dry up. So you are mentally preparing yourself. You are making a plan. As a farmer, sometimes we're like fly by the seat of our pants, it's your own thing. So I've had to get better at, okay, I need to get better at communicating. And then on the same side, to be able to tell them, you make me really not want to give you milk. Please be nice, and then I'm saying I'm joking, but I'm not joking. Like I'm doing the best I can, and to be there to have those conversations, with folks. And so I understand too, it's my responsibility. If I want people to shop small and be local, I have to be available and then have the courage, the guts to speak up a little bit for myself to protect myself. So I still want to do it. So
It's so true. And what I think is incredible though is the opportunity that we're given because, grocery stores have kind of done a disservice to farmers. And I'm not like wanting to play the victim mentality, but it's just the idea. So to understand the natural flow of things is really cool. And then when you can embrace that, and so you take a break from milk, or you don't get up enough honeyberries or whatever the thing is. it's okay to do without, and it sure makes you appreciate it when it comes back. And that's really neat to help that mindset. Um, I just wanted to share a couple of books really quick too. I don't know if you had more to share. I don't want to,
Right.
um,
That's it.
but for anyone who is looking into, and we'll put this definitely in the notes, but I have a couple of favorite books. So the first one is called The Art of Clabber. I just got this book. This is such a cool book. I think my favorite part is the back half is recipes. And these
Wow.
are ways to use clabber. Here's the thing with clabber. I'm making pints of it. You're making a new pint every day. So if you're not making cheese, or if you're not, if you're not finding ways to use this clabber, then pretty soon you've got a gallon in your refrigerator and you're not sure what to do with it. And you don't want to dump it. It's really good stuff. And so this book is really good. It goes into all of the components of clabber. I actually used her recipe, but then I started a new clabber with this recipe, which is another one that I wanted to share. Your face. So let's you and I work together to bring her up for the expo. I think it would be really
That
cool.
would be so fun.
Yeah, so her clabber recipe is much simpler. So I like, and I just so she has a recipe for making mozzarella without citric acid. Like, she's solved all the problems. And one thing that I'm super passionate about, that if no one remembers anything from any of what we've done, what I hope that comes out of what we're doing is that someone somewhere is able to make a totally sustainable cheese. So we have stinging nettle growing in our garden. I think I mentioned that. And the whole purpose of the stinging nettle is to make rennet, or to make um, vegetable rennet, so that and I realize, like, with a dead calf or something, we could get rennet, but I mean that's not easy
Right.
to come by.
Yep.
So I a vegetable rennet that I can grow, that I can use to make cheese. So then I have clabber as my culture, vegetable rennet as my as the coagulant, and then we've got a 100% in milk, local milk. We have a 100% sustainable cheese product. And man, if even my ideas lead to someone else actually doing it, that would be super cool. Because anything that we can do that's sustainable up here, but something big like cheese, just that would be really fun. So
Right. So fun. So fun. I just got this book in the mail, so I was like, "Oh, I was excited about it." Anyway,
it's a good one. It's a good one. All right. Well, very good. Kelly, did you have anything you wanted to add about raw milk or?
I don't think so. I appreciate having the conversation, and I hope that continuing to have it will take down a few of the barriers too. Like this is not it's not a political thing. It's not a one side or the other thing. It's like let's support people. And honestly, if anything, it just I'm always back to the small farmer, the grassroots of doing it, and keeping control of our own food, being the active participant in it. So
Yeah, and get to know your farmer, meet them. And like you said, Kelly, that was such a perfect segue to getting to choose raw milk, is ask them questions. There is nothing that makes me happier, and my cow's only 6 weeks old, but there's nothing that makes me happier is when people ask me about my cow. Oh my gosh, people love talking about this stuff. So your farmer's going to love answering your questions, and the fact that you care about these things means a lot. So yeah, for sure. All right. Well, it's been a great time talking with you, Kelly. Thank you for all your insight on all of this, and we'll see you next week.
all right, sounds good.